Welcome to another episode of The Missing Link in Your Healing. I'm here on my own, Antoinette McInnes. Loretta will be back with me soon. This is the podcast where we bring to you information, tools, knowledge, insights, people's personal stories of healing that may provide a perspective and a missing piece of the puzzle in your own journey to help yourself heal from the inside out. We focus on physical healing, but everything we bring actually is the human journey to healing on a physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional level because it all goes together. So, I'm doing something today we never even discussed doing, Loretta and I, and that is a book review. I'm going to share a little bit of how this happened because for 2 weeks in a row, I prepared an episode which I haven't put out. And I'm going to share one or two interesting insights before I get going on our topic. Because although they're not directly related, of course they are because everything's interconnected. And so they all potentially maybe just need to be shared today. So I'm going to do that. But let me introduce the topic and the book. Healing Back Pain Without Drugs, Surgery, or Exercise. This is a book written by Dr. John Sarno, and he takes the perspective of using mind-body connection and emotional work and brain work to help people heal back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, without any surgery or even without exercise. So if you have recurring back pain, neck or shoulder pain, if you have to baby your back and be very careful, if back pain's keeping you from living a full life, or possibly you've been told you need a back or neck op and you would rather try and avoid that. If so, please take a listen to the short episode where I'm going to review this book. It's really, really worth a listen and a read because it just might provide a solution. So I'm going to get on to John Sarno and his groundbreaking research and a few other things. But before I do that, I just want to dive into some alarming statistics around back pain. And I did look this up. I knew it was prolific and big, but I did not know that it is one of the most common health complaints worldwide, and it affects millions and millions of people of all ages. For some, it's a short-lived convenience, but for others, it becomes a chronic condition that interferes with their daily life. So the 2020 global pain statistics said that approximately 619 million people worldwide experienced lower back pain. 619 million. According to the World Health Organization, back pain is the leading cause of disability across the globe. Lower back pain also accounts for the largest number of people requiring rehabilitation services. Projections for 2050 are going to blow your mind. The number of cases globally is expected to rise to 843 million by 2050. Prevalence does increase in older years up to 80, but the highest number of cases occur between the age of 50 and 55 years old. That's not that old. And interestingly, women are far more prone to experience back pain than men. And this is a trend observed across age groups. So I had a brief period in my life of nearly having a spinal op, and I'm going to share my story a little bit later. I forgot about this story because it was so long ago. But I can tell you now what Dr. Sarno brings it's astounding that I prepared an episode for last week, but I had this incredible resistance coming up to the preparation, and I was procrastinating, and it just didn't feel right. So I jumped on the phone and I phoned Simone Stain, who's a neuroplasticity, chronic pain management coach, emotional processing coach. Go back and listen to last week's episode. It was astoundingly insightful and helpful. So, and she said yes, because I just could not bring myself to push through the resistance of preparing the episode I was doing last week, even though it's a topic I really wanted to cover. Now, how's this? Okay, how's this for providence, synchrodestiny, and also looking at resistance from a different point of view, from my perspective? So Simone jumps on and we record this astounding episode. And Simone Stain is trained in the exact mind-body emotional connection processes and knowledge that Dr. John Sarno was the groundbreaking researcher of this many, many years ago, actually. And from his work, this groundbreaking work of his, it's become quite a big thing to manage chronic pain and even possibly structural pain now through mind-body connection processes, through accessing suppressed emotions, through looking at the brain and its role in it. So the astounding thing is last week, I asked someone to speak about a particular topic, about how childhood and in utero affects our health in later years. And we ended up speaking so much about the very stuff Dr. John Sarno started. And then someone trained with other pain specialists and researchers. But when I said to her I was going to do this episode today, which I had no intention of doing, she said, yeah, well, that's the guy who informed all this research. So I'm like, so I have to actually share with you how I got to doing an episode on this book rather than doing the episode I was going to do, because there's definitely a reason these two episodes need to go out and why they ended up happening back to back. So for 2 days prior to today, I really could not get myself sitting down and prepare the content for the episode I wanted to do yet again. And I told myself, this is your resistance, your procrastination, your limiting beliefs, your imposter syndrome. But I just couldn't. And it didn't feel wrong. It just felt a bit scary on a mind level and an ego level, because I'm like, I've got a podcast to get out this week and I haven't done my work. But it felt peaceful, so I just left it. But last night, the time had run out, and I was like, what am I going to record tomorrow? And I hop into my bed early and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to carry on finishing the preparation. And next to my bed, I see this book right on the top of my pile of books. This book by Dr. John Sarno called Healing Back Pain, the Mind-Body Connection Way. And I pick up this book, and a friend of mine lent it to me a couple of years ago, actually, and I've never actually read it because she told me she had chronic back pain. And this book had healed her. Actually, the concepts in this book and applying them had healed her. And she wasn't a person that was into this kind of thing. So, and she knows I am because of our podcast and my own healing journey. And she put the book in my hand and said, read this book. And I never read it. But last night I'm walking in to prepare this other episode, and this book just jumps out at me. I pick it up, I read the back cover, and I'm like, this is the episode I have to do tomorrow. And I have to quickly read this book. And then I tell someone I'm doing this, and she's like, yeah, well, yeah, that's the guy, that's the guy. He's the groundbreaking researcher in this. And I was like, well, you tell me that that's not synchronicity, because my ego was telling me, Antoinette, you're resistant, you've messed up, you just don't want to do this, you're procrastinating. But actually, it was my intuition saying, there's something else you have to do. So it takes quite a lot of inner work. Well, it has for me to get to the point where I know the difference between ego and intuition. But startingly, it's getting clearer. So let me get on to the book. So yeah, it might provide a solution, this book. It might not. But it is certainly worth taking a listen and a read, because Dr. John Sarno, for a long time, this man is not recent. I can't remember his dates, but this book was first published in 1918, I think, and his research started long before that. You can look him up. And he has helped countless patients overcome their back pain without any surgery. So this book undoubtedly will offer some important insights that may help you they will help you understand the nature of your pain and how to find new ways to manage it. Sarno presents an approach to treating pain that is completely in line with everything we put out on this podcast. And it's exactly what Simone Stein does, actually. So if you're needing a coach or someone to help you, Simone Stein or Loretta Frucci could certainly provide an amazing coaching service to you. Anyway, let me get on with the book. So Sarno's pioneering research is in terms of back pain. He focused on back pain, and he said it stemmed from repressed emotions, not structural issues. So he advocates that chronic back pain is not caused by structural issues, but by repressed emotions and psychological stress. So I've repeated that, but it's very important. Sarno coined the term, which Simone used in her episodes, tension myoneural syndrome, TMS for short, to describe this condition where emotional stress leads to physical pain, especially in the back, neck, and shoulders. But it's now been linked, as Simone has said, to fibromyalgia and all kinds of other chronic pain situations in people. So he argued that this is so interesting, that the brain creates pain as a distraction from unconscious emotional conflicts and emotional stress. For example, anger, guilt, or anxiety. So in other words, repressed emotions cause real pain. And pain is a psychological defense mechanism that the brain uses to divert attention from uncomfortable emotions. So before you write this book off as woohoo, the woman who gave me the book, I've just shared her story. Simone's episode last week, episode 55, she's talked in 2 episodes, but last week's episode 55, how she has helped herself and people with chronic pain with this method and process. It is what underpins our whole podcast, as I said, and we are not woohoo-hoos. We may seem that way, but this stuff is really, it helped me. It's been my journey to healing, and mine was cancer. And Loretta uses it all the time. So I forgot that I had a very bad spinal issue and diagnosis in 2010. I just forgot about it because so many other things have happened in my life. And going through this book, I realized, oh my goodness, do you know, I had such problems with my spine and back pain that I actually went off to a specialist. And the first specialist said to me, you know what, you need a very expensive, dangerous back op, otherwise you're going to end up being disabled very fast. So, of course, I was absolutely terrified, and I certainly didn't want to be disabled. But I'm not a person that takes a diagnosis lying down. So, after getting over my terror, I decided to consult another specialist. The astounding thing is, the specialist I went to, the second one, says to me, "You do not need that operation. You do have some spinal degeneration, but it's nothing more than anybody at your age has. Please do not have that operation." So that's the one thing. So I didn't have the op, and it's now 15 years later, and I don't have any spinal issues, to be honest with you. But I still had pain. And then I started avoiding walking on the beach and, like protecting my back. And I was like, I don't need this up, but this is not okay. And then I had a friend, and a whole lot of things happened. And one day I was walking on the beach and I was really in pain and I was trying to protect my back. And a friend of mine had cured herself of cancer a few years before. And one of the things she gleaned was from a book. And it was an affirmation that says, "I'm getting better and better every day in every way." So this just came to my mind. And as I started carrying on walking on the beach, I said, every step I take is going to heal my spine. Every step I take is healing my spine. Every step I take is healing my spine. And honestly, I don't think it was even days later, and my spine issues were gone. So the reason I'm sharing that story is because until last night, I had not read this book, but when you see the tenets or the concepts from this book, I had automatically applied them. And thank goodness I went for a second opinion, because the one thing, as everybody knows, that we really want to try and avoid is neck or spine surgery. If you have to have it, you have to have it. But anyway, so let's dive into the concepts of this book, and you'll see how it was so interesting to have my journey validated. And it makes me have huge confidence in this book. It might not be for everybody, but give it a go just in case. So, how do these repressed emotions cause pain? Well, we've gone through that quite a lot in various episodes, and Simon did, but let's look at it from Sarno's point of view. He says that unconscious emotions, especially anger, guilt, and anxiety, and looking back in hindsight, those were big things in my life. They have been till recently, actually. These can lead to muscle tension and reduced blood flow, and therefore cause pain. Listen to that again. Not with me, but go back. And a diagnosis, therefore, often misses the mark, as it did in my case. Many medical diagnoses focus on structural abnormalities like herniated discs, which Sarno believes are often incidental and not the true cause of pain. And honestly, in my case, although I had a very strong referral to this first surgeon I went to, he actually wanted to do an operation I did not need. So one thing I'm really grateful for is my whole life, I've never just taken one person's opinion. Number 3, Sarno says, fear perpetuates pain. The fear of re-injury or worsening pain reinforces the cycle. So he adamantly emphasizes, resume your physical activity. Don't stop moving and exercising, and remove the fear from your mind. That was my exact spot on journey, wasn't it? He says awareness is curative. Simply understanding that your pain is emotionally driven can lead to significant relief. No drugs, no surgery, just a shift in perspective. And that's one of the reasons we bring these perspectives and these pieces of the puzzle to you. And honestly, in my case, one shift, and I didn't even know this stuff then, but one shift with that affirmation I did changed it for me in a couple of days. So Simone spoke about this. Oh my goodness, Antoinette, the brain is a distraction machine. Pain is used by the brain to distract you from uncomfortable emotions. Recognizing this can help you break that cycle. And breaking that cycle is not going to only heal your back pain, it's going to start healing your whole life. Sarno also said that personality traits matter. Perfectionist, perfectionistic and highly responsible people, me, I was one of those, are more prone to TMS due to internalized pressure and emotional suppression. As everybody knows who's listened to my story, I'm absolutely convinced that suppressing and repressing my emotions my whole life was a very strong trigger in my cancer. So it's not just pain. Anyway, Sarno says, I'm just repeating a few things, but some things are worth repeating. No need for surgery or even physical therapy. In fact, when he works with people, he encourages them not, or he discourages them from doing operations or even physical therapy. He said he tries to get them first to simply understand the emotional roots of their pain and just resume normal activity. Remember, you can always go the other route if this doesn't work. He also acknowledged that accepting the pain. Oh, he also acknowledged that accepting that pain is due to psychological issues can be challenging. And I agree with that. And Loretta and I would both say it's very hard for people who are very driven by science or allopathic medicine only. I mean, and we're not against any of that. But there's a whole lot more to healing, as we've brought in the last 55 episodes. So if you feel it's hard for you to accept this, you know what? Just take a listen and try and accept it, because it could be one of the most important steps in your healing journey. Believe me, I'm a living case study. He explains that accepting the perspective is a very important step, as it allows you to focus on addressing the emotional issues that are contributing to your pain. So the thing is, when we don't accept this perspective, we run off after a tablet or an operation, and then we don't look at the suppressed emotions. We don't start doing the internal work. So we're not saying, we never say don't have an op, or that there isn't sometimes a need for tablets. But if you're going to go and do anything to structurally change your body, or take an allopathic drug or even a natural drug, make sure you're doing this work in tandem. But in terms of back and neck pain, this is where I would start, because I've seen some people with very bad back and spine ops, and it hasn't changed their life for the better, believe me. So how do you apply these TMS concepts? Look, get the book. It's all in there. Simone Staines, a specialist in this. As I've said, I'll put all her links underneath. Loretta can really help with this journey, but I've just picked out the key highlights from the book, and you can go and get the book. I'll also put the links to that in the show notes. The main concepts around using TMS to heal. Number one, as he said, understand and accept that your pain might be psychogenic. Psychogenic, that is caused by repressed emotions rather than something structurally wrong with your body. Knowledge is power. I repeat myself, but these are important things. Knowledge is power. Education and knowledge about the mind-body connection and the nature of back pain can be empowering. So if you haven't listened to our episodes, listen. Simone Staines' website will be below, and Loretta's details. There's lots of information there, free videos, where you can find out more information about this. Stop searching for physical fixes. Okay, this just reiterates what I've just said earlier. It's very important to try and avoid unnecessary treatments like surgery, painkillers, or endless physical therapy unless it's medically essential. I have had a very big, dangerous op when I had cancer. I'd never had an op in my life. I avoid surgery at all costs, but I needed it to stay alive. But my intuition drove me to that. And thank goodness it somehow landed me in a situation with my spine that I did not have an unnecessary op. Traditional treatments, I repeat myself, but this is important, do not address the underlying issues. So you can go and have the op, you can take the tablets, but if the underlying issues are the cause of your back pain, you're going to end up having problems. And even if the back isn't giving pain, it's going to come out somewhere else in your body in pain or even in physical illness like cancer. So everything we bring, and Sarno's research advocates, shift your mindset from fixing the body to understanding the mind, emotions, energy, and how to work mind, emotions, energy to help heal your physical body. So he suggests that surgery or medication might even worsen pain. And I have to agree with that. I've seen many examples of people who are worse off afterwards. And the other thing it does is he says it reinforces the idea that there's a physical problem that needs to be fixed rather than an inside-out healing journey. And he says resume normal activity. Gradually return to movement without fear. Fear reinforces pain. And we've spoken about that a lot. We've done a couple of episodes on fear. Trust your body's resilience. Your movement of your body is never your enemy, even if there's pain. And I know I've had osteoarthritis since 15 years nearly. And it's astounding how I've never stopped exercising. But at one point I had quite a lot of pain in my knees. And yeah, I thought it was really, really painful. And I had a knee replacement up a few years ago, as some of you might know, on my one knee. It really did help, but it was hectic. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And my other knee, I was told already in 10 years ago that I'd have to have a full knee replacement. And it gives me a little niggle now and again, but to be honest, I don't have any problems with it. I go to Pilates, yoga, stretch, I walk. And every time I go to the surgeon and say, do I need this knee up yet? He goes, well, your scans show you do, but you definitely don't need it. So I've got a great surgeon here because he's like, no, look at you. You're completely functional. So yeah, just another real live example that, but I think my knee's okay because I've done so much of this emotional processing work, working with my suppressed emotions. And I can tell you, that's the reason I'm still alive today. Okay, he says journaling. Okay, we've talked about journaling a lot. Everyone talks about journaling. There's a particular way of journaling and writing that's useful and a particular way that's not. So you can go look at Simone Stein's work or just research this a bit more. But to write, he says to write about your daily stresses, anger, guilt, anxiety, even if they seem minor, is really worthwhile. And Dr. Caroline Leaf, who's a neuroscientist, says the same. Because you're expressing your negative feelings and you're recording them. You know, when we can observe them, but until we write them down, writing them down makes them very real. And we don't judge ourselves when we write down some negative thoughts and feelings we had during the day. We just write them down. We have self-compassion and we don't judge them. As hard as it is not to do that sometimes. He says, challenge the pain. When pain arises, remind yourself This is just my brain distracting me. Reframe pain as a signal of emotional tension, not physical injury. Both Simone's we've put out speak a lot to this, and everything Loretta and I do speaks to this, but not quite in this language. Explore your personality patterns. Now, this is not always an easy thing to do, let me tell you. Are you a perfectionist? Are you a people pleaser? Are you overly responsible? If you knew the things I'd had to look at in myself. Anyway, one day I might share them all in a book or something, but it's been hardcore. It hasn't been easy to see all of myself, but it has led to me being where I am now, which is better than I've ever been in every way. I'm not saying my journey's over, it's ongoing, but it's made a massive difference in my life. So, yeah, these traits often correlate with physical issues, and he's talking about back pain. So just be aware. And then he says connection. Connection with other people who are experiencing similar pain and have successfully healed can really help provide encouragement and support. And it's coming out more and more now that connection and support are extremely important for our overall health, and especially with specific physical issues or even mental or psychological issues. So yeah, that's why I'm busy setting up together with Loretta and Simone and Hatumbra, all the people who have been on our podcast, Marcia, a online community-based platform called the Inner Healing Hub, where we will have information and knowledge like we do on the podcast, but in its essence, it's about creating connection of people who have specific issues, whether it's an eating disorder or pain or a cancer or a dark night of the soul, where you can connect with other people to share in a safe space, but also to be guided and connect with experienced people who have been before you or are very trained and helped others in this. So look out for that. We look forward to welcoming you there. I know that the Radical Remission podcast, which I mentioned often, is mainly focused on cancer, but that was one of the main reasons I was able to heal myself of cancer, because every episode they put out on that podcast and in the book, Radical Remission, tells stories of people who have survived the incurable, in inverted commas. So if one person can do it, I knew I could, and so can all of you. And here we're talking about back pain, not even cancer. So it's important when you go on this journey to have self-compassion and deep self-care. We've talked about that a lot. So be kind and gentle to yourself. It's very easy to beat up on yourself when you see parts of yourself that are not so lacquered to see, that don't feel comfortable. And reduce your stress, anxiety, and tension in any way you can, whether it's walking in nature, meditation, taking time out, and don't give up, he says. It can become very discouraging, this journey, because sometimes it gets harder before it gets better. But if you carry on practicing mind-body techniques, addressing your emotional and psychological issues, practice self-care and self-compassion, you can and will support your healing process and make progress towards reducing and managing your chronic back pain. Even if you can't get rid of it, you can manage it really well, like I do my knee. And you know what? It's actually going to change your whole life, this work, not just your back or your neck pain. Just to reiterate, your mind and body are connected, and psychological factors such as stress, anxiety, and emotional trauma can all manifest as physical pain. And in one of our very early episodes, I think episode 3, I put out an episode on hidden stress, and Gabor Mate and applied psychoneuroimmunology is saying that not just physical pain, but cancers and so many, diabetes, heart disease. This is the crux. It's a big potential missing link in the healing puzzle. So in this book, to get back to the book, he will teach you how to identify the stress and any other psychological factors that could be causing your back pain. And he demonstrates how you can heal yourself without the drugs, surgery, or exercise. His approach is tried and tested. It has helped thousands of people. So if you want to go and research him, I'll put links to him. He's been around a long time with this. He's not recent. His work is especially powerful if you have been told your pain has no clear medical issue. This book is also filled with case studies and practical insights. Case studies are so helpful, as I said. And he's got at least 6 or 7 real case studies of people that have healed themselves from back pain through all kinds of things, like working with their guilt or many. I'm not going to go through them all now. You can read the book or you can email me. I'll send you a list of the case studies. Yeah, that's why we talk about case studies all the time. In Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Says No, every chapter he lists a case study of people who healed cancer or some chronic disease through connecting with their past or healing toxic belief systems within themselves or looking at their relationships and their relationship to their self and the world. So psychoneuroimmunology is this is medical science that is really going out there now to prove this. It's been around a long time, but it's gaining a lot of momentum. And Simone Stain's busy in her final training in advanced psychoneuroimmunology. And Loretta and I have used it a lot in our podcast. Psychoneuroimmunology was a big, big turnaround in my healing journey. So yes, thank you for listening. And I hope that anybody who's got some back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, will dive into this book. And please share this. It's really needed right now. And please write us a review, especially on Apple Podcasts or on any of the podcast channels. We're on every podcast channel. It really helps us get higher rankings. Our only passion is to get this information out there to help people. It's all for free. We're on YouTube. So please comment, ask us a question. All our details are in the show notes. We would love to hear from you and send us your questions and share so someone else can benefit. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.